Hi, welcome back to another episode of Buy the House, Build the Home.
Hi.
We're so excited you're here. We have a fantastic guest today. Betty's going to introduce.
I am so excited because truly this person is one of my favorite people in the world. She is like family, truly, to me. We have lived so much life together. Oh my gosh, we could write a book.
So much.
But this is my greatest pleasure to introduce Sonja Bomhoff. She is a life and leadership coach. She's certified in Brene Brown's Dare to Lead and Daring Way. She's a facilitator. She is also certified in Enneagram, and she's a spiritual director.
Yeah.
Sonja, I would love for you to tell us a little bit about yourself. How long have you been in this, and kind of what got you into it?
Okay. So we're going to go all the way back there.
Go back. Take it back.
Thanks, Betty. So I would say, wow, who am I? Back in the day, I'm what you might call an overachiever type and a recovering perfectionist. So I have done many things in my life, everything from build a commercial building, run a retail brick and mortar, especially bridal couture salon, had multiple businesses. And then after pushing myself very hard for a very long time and not really realizing how important it is to really be integrated in your life, body, soul, and spirit, I crashed physically, emotionally, mentally, I would say, in 2012. And it was my wake-up call. I didn't even really, I was kind of mad that I crashed because I got things to do. It's like that.
Nobody has time
you need
for
to
this.
achieve.
Yeah, very goal-orientated. Those of you who are familiar with the Enneagram, I lead with a type 3, which is the achiever type. And man, I love goals. I love getting things done. I love accomplishing and doing it well. Yeah. But unfortunately, it was at the expense of my own heart. It didn't know it. Didn't know I was even doing it. And so pushing myself so hard for so many years, I crashed. And that's when I was like, I'll never forget this. I'm on an airplane. I'm flying to Disney World, the happiest place on earth. Mm-hmm. And I am not in a happy place. So it's not a place to go when you're not really in a good place. But while I'm flying, I'm listening to a podcast. And the speaker says, yeah, my wife is reading this book called The Gifts of Imperfection. And I'm like, excuse me?
There's no gift.
That's not a gift.
Like it was, I literally was stopped me in my tracks. Those words don't even go together in my mind. Gift and imperfection. It was like one of those moments.
Yeah.
And then they said the author's name and I couldn't make out the name, Brene. I'm like, and so I'm like rewinding it. And yeah, Brene, I write it down. And unbeknownst to me, we get to the hotel room and my husband had downloaded the book, The Gifts of Imperfection, to give to me. What does that tell you? Like I had some work to do. and I really believe, things kind of come at you and you pay attention. And I'm like, okay, wow. And that led to me watching her TED Talk, The Power of Vulnerability, and it just
So good.
That's the one that kind of like really set her off, right?
Yes.
Career-wise. Yeah.
It's phenomenal.
Notoriety-wise, I guess.
Yeah. And I think 75 plus million people have watched it now. And I highly recommend everyone to watch that. The Power of Vulnerability. It was reading my mail. Yeah. I could, she was answering questions and I could really relate to so much that she was saying. And it really set me on a path of I need to know more about this. And in particular, because back then, really her research was so much around shame, at least in my mind, vulnerability and that connection. And I felt like I finally realized for the first time what my core issue was, which was shame. Yeah. But no one ever talked about it.
Right.
And I remember calling my therapist. I had a session while I was at Disney World from the hotel room, which back in the day, I wouldn't even tell people I was seeing a therapist because there was so much shame around that.
Right.
I mean, I didn't for years.
Yeah.
That was a big deal to even go there.
I think even now it's just becoming more popular.
I think you're right.
Acceptable.
Yeah. Yeah, more so.
Yeah.
Back then it was like something's wrong with you.
No,
Yeah.
in fact, I grew up in a family where my mom had gone through a lot of difficult things. And so she saw a therapist and did things. And back then it was such a taboo that for me to even think about doing
Yeah.
something like that, no, because that means I'm not okay.
Yeah.
And it's not okay to not be okay.
Right.
Right. As a recovering perfectionist, at that time, a full-blown perfectionist. And here's the thing, the root of perfectionism is shame.
Yeah.
And I did not know that. And so she's speaking these things. And honestly, it was like she was answering my prayers.
Yeah.
Because I needed to know, like, what is this that I'm dealing with? And it began this journey of awakening in my life. And it set me on a course where it was utterly transformational. And I'm the type of person that if something really helps me, first of all, I want to go to the root. I want to, don't waste my time. As a type 3 on the Enneagram, I'm very efficient. So, let's go there.
Yeah.
Game on. If this is what it is, and I need to learn more about this because I want to thrive.
Yeah.
Who doesn't?
Right.
I want to thrive, but I didn't know how. Show me how. And so I began my training. And during that time, with Brene Brown's work, I went to a training in 2012. I think it was 2012, in San Antonio with her. And she allowed me to continue, I was able to become a coach. If I got certified as an ICF coach, I could become certified in her work as a facilitator. And really, I wanted more than anything to be certified in her work, which is what led me to become a coach, in the back way.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so I was getting trained both times. So I'm and it was in the back of my mind because I really love helping people. I do. I care a lot about people. And I have this conviction that transform people.
Yeah.
And I wanted that to be, my journey but first, I don't believe you can lead anyone where you have not been yourself.
Yeah.
So I did some really deep work myself. And then I have been utterly privileged to work with so many amazing clients, both professionally in corporations as well as one-on-one coaching. And I don't know who's blessed more, I get to be a part of their journey in some small way and learn from them as they learn from me.
And she's worked with senators and all kinds. I mean, it's phenomenal what she does. And I've personally,
We should line up all the senators.
let's get them just going. Just get in there. But I've personally gone through group work with her and one-on-one. And I can say that being someone that you did the deep dive and then you also, like you were saying, you have this heart to help people and you want to share what you've learned. And I have been a recipient of so many incredible tools that gave me handlebars to grab onto to really figure out, wow. I mean, this stuff it's very deep, but it's so profound. And once you really can find the tools to practice and do it, it's extremely life-changing. So as someone that's experienced a secondhand from you, it's really changed my life, in so many ways. Yeah. So we're so thankful that you're here.
Thank you.
And today we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, we're really diving deep into how do we thrive in 2025.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us, and you can speak to this if you want, but a lot of us, myself included, are very goal-oriented, okay, I'm going to reflect on this year. I didn't like this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. This. And then, again, if you're anything like me, you get to January 31st, you're like, well, shoot.
Well, there it goes.
That's this year. I'll try in 2026. But honestly, it's just it's a really tiresome way to enter the new year, even though you might have that adrenaline high of oh, I'm going to do all these things and change all these things and become this person. For me, I have found the goals exhausting at times.
Yeah.
And
I'm with you.
And I know that your background is not as goal oriented, but experience oriented. So you're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
But we just wanted to bring you on to really set people up for success in the new year.
Yeah, that's so good. First off, I am incredibly goal orientated because of my threeness. I've had to learn to balance that.
Why don't we really quick talk about what is Enneagram, since you're referencing it?
Okay.
Just super quick, like
Yeah.
a little rabbit trail on what is Enneagram, what does it help? So if somebody wants to look into it too for themselves.
Well, I would say the Enneagram it stands for Enneagram, Ennea 9-gram map. It is really it shows us 9 different personality structures, basically 9 different ways that people have learned to self-protect in order to survive. And then once you learn your dominant type, so you'll either be a 1 to 9, that's not who you are. That is your self-protective strategies. Brene Brown would call that your armor. The way that we have learned to survive. And it's not bad. I don't want to make it bad because, hey, we're here. We're alive. Yeah. But there is, like what you said earlier, Shelby, about thriving.
Yeah.
We do not thrive when we're armored up. Yeah. We do not thrive when we are operating out of self-protective patterns. It's actually constricting physically to our body. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like stressful. Even this idea, and I love how you reference, these goals, like there's some energy behind it and it's exciting. Yeah. I'm with you. Like, yes, I love goals. But the thing that I was missing with goals was, okay, how can I be kind to myself with the goals that I want to implement? What's really going to support me long term? I'm very good at like, okay, you're going to do this. You're going to exercise this many days a week. You're going to eat healthy. You're going to this, knock it out of the park. And guess what? I can do that kind of stuff, which is what landed me on the couch for 6 months, right? Yeah. Thyroid, adrenals, crashed, cortisol, not kind. Yeah. All right. So goals are important. Don't get me wrong. We need them. Yeah. It's healthy. Yeah. However, if you are creating a goal in the absence of self-compassion, that can be very damaging. Yeah. And what I've learned on this journey, which is probably one of my core messages now, is you cannot heal really deeply or thrive in the absence of self-compassion and empathy. What does that look like? So I'm really big at how. All right. So let's create some goals that are really important to you. But first, let's find out what really is important to you, not what the whole world says should be important to you.
Maybe the why behind the importance,
the why,
the motivation behind.
That's good. Yeah. Maybe what are your values? What are your core values? Have you ever even looked into that? Let's establish that. Let's do some exercises around really identifying, man, this means a lot to me. One of my core values is loving kindness. Okay. Yeah, I can apply that to everyone outside of me. Yeah. But what about me? Yeah. Okay. So our values need to include not only other people, but ourselves. Yeah. So that's just a good starting point. Like, how do I step back here a minute? What are my core values? What's important to me? And then how do I cultivate compassion in the midst of those core values so that I am moving towards my goals, but I'm moving in a way that can actually be sustainable? Yeah. Because I want people to actually be able to thrive.
Right.
I think about just practically, you can say to yourself like, oh yeah, I'm kind to myself. I love myself, yeah. But one of the things that I realized was my self-talk. Yeah. When I did something wrong or when I screwed something up, I'm making a turkey burger and I drop it on the floor. What I'm saying to myself is not what I would say to my nephew or someone that my best friend or my sister. It's not like I'm talking to myself like I love myself in that moment. Yeah. And you can kind of trick your brain and say, oh yeah, no, I do that.
That's
I love
good.
myself.
Yep.
And then you start looking at really peel back the layer and go,
that's a good
how
example.
do I talk to myself? Yeah. Actually, I don't talk to myself with loving kindness, with self-compassion. Yep. And then as I started this journey, then I would get mad at myself for talking to myself.
Right.
And I'd be like, what's wrong with me?
That's the level.
Yeah.
That's how we can be so entrenched in that. And you are not alone, Betty. There's that is a thing. Most of us have that inner critic.
Right. Yeah.
And the inner critic really is there to self-protect.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's trying to serve you.
Yeah.
But it's it's not doing a real good job. It's not, sustainable.
Yeah. One of the things that I loved in some of our work that we've done together that I would love for you to touch on in the podcast is about permission slips. Because it was something very early on. You kind of made me do it. You'd be like, you gotta write your permission slips. And I'd be like, I made you. This is crazy. But for me,
I invited you.
You invited me and I accepted. But it was simple things, but it was like, today I have permission to say no. Today I have permission to rest. I have permission to, you would give me lots of ideas and I would start to go, if I would physically write it out.
Yeah.
And it was really beneficial because I would keep that before me in the day. And then when something would come my way, I'm like, I have permission to rest. I have permission to say no. And it's very simple, but that was really powerful. Would you touch on that a little bit in your journey?
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. Here's the thing. What we focus on expands, right? And the gift of our brain is we have the ability to create new neural pathways. It's the neuroplasticity of our brain.
Yeah.
But we do that through focus and practice. If you look at the universal growth process, like how we grow, number one, you have to see it. Okay? That's awareness. And you touched on that. Like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, yeah, I'm kind to myself. Then you're like, oh, wait a minute. Actually, I'm not.
Yeah.
Okay.
I only am when I'm doing everything right.
Yeah, exactly.
If I don't mess up.
Yeah. So pay attention. Number one, we have to have awareness. So begin to pay attention to how do you talk to yourself? So let's just say one of my goals, what if one of your goals for 2025 was actually to be kind to yourself? What a concept.
Oh
to actually cultivate compassion.
Yeah.
That's a tough goal.
But really foundational.
Yeah.
Like what if we had goals around things that will help carry us through so that we're building a strong foundation.
Yeah.
So then out of that place, we can meet the goals, that are coming forth in our lives. And that way too, we're that much more maybe possibly clear on what matters to us.
Yeah.
So number one, awareness. Once you see it, then you have to allow what's arising, which can be very uncomfortable. You touched on that too. Wait a minute. How come I'm not kind? And then you're not kind to yourself because you didn't know that you weren't, that whole thing. I did that too. So we have to really come to terms with this is the human process. I have to see it. And then when I see it, allow. That means whatever is arising in the present moment, okay, I can be with this. It might feel really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Okay. Feelings aren't good or bad. They just are. They're energy, really motion, energy and motion. So you know what? you know what? I feel sad about that. Permission to be sad.
Yeah.
I'm just going to breathe. I'm going to allow myself to be where I am because actually, if you can be with your emotion and not add narrative to it, actually just be with it, breathe, ground yourself, you will move through that emotion in about 90 seconds.
Yeah. Wow.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Wouldn't that
How
be
many
nice?
people have been trapped in an emotion for years?
Yeah.
Well, and that's the ditch. We go on one side or the other where we over-identify with the emotion or we shove it down and we act like it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Either side, it's not mindful. We're not being present. Okay, so we're going to allow, be kind. Whatever's arising in the moment, I'm going to learn how to meet that with compassion, and then I'm going to appreciate the human experience. And that comes with practice. This is what it means to be human.
Yeah.
I'm going to have all sorts of emotions. I'm not the only one. And I was listening to this teacher one time, and he was talking about how he went to India and how they make butter there. And it's like they go back and forth, the churn, back and forth. And he goes, and I liken that to life. 2 steps forward, 5 steps back, 8 steps forward, 1 step back. But then I remember I'm making butter. And this idea of I am worthy enough to keep coming back to myself. This is the human process. I will have moments where I feel like I just took 3 steps back, but this is part of the journey. And so I breathe and I ground myself again and I come back. So we appreciate the journey, but then we need action. And that's the permission slips.
Yeah.
So what's my action step? I'm going to start really focusing on this. I'm going to take a little sticky note, maybe, whatever works for you. And I begin writing down what my permissions are each day. Maybe I have alerts on my phone that remind me.
Yeah.
One of my permission slips was permission to be human. Because guess what? To be human is to be imperfect.
Right.
Yeah.
To be human is to be vulnerable. The fragility of what it means. And so the very act of trying to be perfect is basically trying to not be human.
Yeah.
And do you sense the self-hatred in that even,
Yeah.
the undertone? So permission to be human was huge for me. And I would give myself permission so many times. Permission to say no.
Yeah.
Permission to not have all the answers. Permission to take care of myself. Permission to pause. Permission to breathe.
Yeah.
So I would begin to focus on these things like you were saying, Betty, and you practice. And that's the last step of the growth process, which is adherence. You do this over and over and over again. And that's how you create new neural pathways. So that universal growth process comes from Dr. David Danielson, and he was out of Stanford, and Terry Saraceno, her name, I might be butchering her last name, but he was a psychiatrist connected to Stanford University, and he was instrumental in bringing the Enneagram forth here in the West, that much more so.
Okay.
Him and Helen Palmer. So that's universal growth process. So
That's amazing.
yeah.
I love seeing it laid out like that too, very plain. What would you say to people that maybe have a really hard time adhering to it? I know I'll even throw myself under the bus.
Yeah.
I'm the type of person that's like gung-ho, and I haven't really put it in the lane that we're talking about, self-talk and whatnot, but like say exercising.
Yeah.
I will exercise for 3 weeks straight. I'm starting to feel great. I'm starting to look better. Whatever that might look like. And then something happens and I fall off the wagon. And I feel like in this practice, we're talking about thriving in life as a whole, not just this one tiny lane of nutrition or working out. But in life as a whole, when you fall off that wagon, are there best practices to kind of keep up and keep going? Because I think discipline is one of the most difficult things.
Yeah. So tell me, when you
we
fall
have
off
to
the
do.
wagon, what happens for you?
I mean, if I'm talking about working out specifically, I'd have to like sit here and think about the rest of life.
Right.
But for working out or eating, typically there's a disrupt in my routine.
Normal. Yep.
Of some kind. And then maybe I feel really tired and like unmotivated. It's almost like I went too hard.
There you go.
Push yourself too hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Too fast. So, I mean, I don't know if that's everybody's case though. But that
again,
was mine.
it's awareness. All right.
Yeah.
So no matter what the situation is,
Yeah.
whatever happens, how are you treating yourself now that you didn't meet your goal or whatever the case is?
Yeah.
Because it is absolutely critical in those moments where we feel like we just took 5 steps back, what our self-talk is.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where, to me, that's the gold. You know what? I'm human. This is hard. And you know what else? I'm going to reflect on this now. I'm going to take a moment. So it's what you were just doing, Shelby, when you're like, well, yeah, I think maybe I pushed myself too hard.
Oh, there it is.
So there it is. So then, all right, moving forward, I'm going to maybe take my foot off the pedal a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm going to look at, okay, what serves me? How do I make this sustainable?
Yeah.
Instead of like, I'm gung-ho, I got this. Because it's like all or nothing.
Yeah. Oh, that's my person.
Yeah, I would say that is the American way in many.
Yeah.
I mean, I can relate to that
1,000%.
I will go hard, but I will keep going. And the difference
Yeah.
is I will go and go and go until I'm on the couch.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, I got my goal, but now I'm not thriving.
Yeah. Now
Yeah.
you're unwell.
Yeah.
But hey,
Yeah.
check.
Totally unwell.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like that moment that you notice
Yeah.
that, okay, I'm not exercising. You're already moving back into that place. You notice it and go, okay, what happened there?
Yeah.
You pause. All right, how can I actually be kind to myself? Because I'm human.
Yeah.
This happens. But what is going to support me long term? What's more sustainable?
Yeah.
And little by little, and you tweak it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then maybe it's like, okay, wow, this is really working in my life. And then also know there are seasons.
Yeah.
There are times where we just need to take a breath. And we need to give ourselves permission to not work out this week.
Yeah.
And it doesn't define who we are, whether we hit the goal or not. At the core of who you are not what you do.
Yeah.
And that was my message, man. I am what I do. And so you better, can I swear?
Yeah.
Permission granted. Permission to cuss.
Permission to say kick ass, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? And so it's like this journey of learning to be kind to yourself along the journey, permission to kick ass in this way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and to learn and to fall down and get back up and try again.
Yeah.
That's the point. So part of the issue in our culture is people only post their highlight reels. And I'm telling you,
Yeah.
it's not reality. I know. I work with people.
Yeah.
I hear their stories. I don't care what
works with
title
senators.
I don't care what title you have. I don't care how much money you make.
Yeah.
I don't care. You're still a person.
Yeah.
I don't care if you run a big corporation. I don't care. I just don't care. At the end of the day, we all put our socks on, our shoes on, our pants. We all are human.
Yeah.
And we all struggle,
Yeah.
first and foremost, and we all fall down. But in the fall down, if you know how to get back up, that's called resilience. And a huge piece of that is self-compassion. And that brings us back to the permission slips that were instrumental in my life as well, right? And because the more I focus, I don't write them out so much anymore because I did it for so long and I needed to because I created new neural pathways. I am like a different person in the way I treat myself. But there are still times, depending on what it is and the level, that I can find myself, wait a minute, that was not kind.
Yeah.
Let me try again. Circle back.
Yeah.
So, self-compassion. Number one, do you treat yourself like you would someone you love? It's what you just said, Betty, right? Self-kindness. If you would not say it to them, someone you love deeply, you no longer, you make a commitment, I will not say it to myself. And then you will. And then you try again.
Yeah.
Because you're human and you practice this. But you almost have to get fierce with it sometimes because I'm like you, Betty, where you said, man, if I'm killing it and I'm hitting my goals, man, I got pretty good self-talk. But guess what? It's conditional.
Yeah.
It's called conditional love towards myself.
Yeah.
Because the minute I have a hard day and I fall, that's when it comes out.
Yeah.
You idiot, what's wrong with you? I mean, I have heard people say that so many times. It just comes out of their mouth
Yeah.
when something goes south.
Yeah.
So pay attention. We want to get to a place where I had this teacher and she talked about, man, when I give a talk and afterwards, if people come up to me and they say, God, that was so awesome. You impacted me in such a deep way. And I feel this thing inside of me that's like, yeah, right? That's not good because there's that people pleasing thing that is motivating me. Like I'm getting my self-worth outside of myself.
Yeah.
Okay. Because the day will come when I will have a talk and someone will come up to me because everyone experiences things differently and they have their stuff, right?
Right.
And they won't appreciate what I had to say.
Yeah.
And they may say some very cruel things to me. And now I'm totally
Deflated.
and I'm not okay.
Yeah.
Why? Because you're not okay with me. So I just gave my power away, first of all.
Yeah.
And my self-worth has to come from within. And that's the journey.
I think too, when setting goals, it's really important to look at what is your motive
That's right.
behind that.
Absolutely.
It can be like, oh, I want to make X amount of money, or I want to do this many deals, or I want to, And you have to kind of peel it back because a lot of times your motive isn't kind to yourself, right?
Yeah, right.
Like,
that's sort of what we were saying.
Your motive is just, I want to make sure everyone else around me is okay. Well, guess what? If you're making sure everyone else around you is okay, most of the time you're not okay.
Yeah.
I've learned that. And I love that you mentioned circling back, because that was something that for me, you mentioned when you fell off the wagon. It's like you get to come back, circle back, go,
Yeah.
okay, assess yourself, be aware, like you said, and then come back and go, why am I so hard on myself? Like, I didn't work out for 2 weeks and now I'm just like, okay, forget it for the rest of the year. No, you get to come back to that. You get to circle back. You get to start again, but looking at why you're doing what you're doing. Why do you need to work out 3 weeks straight? What is the motive behind that?
Yep.
Is it because you want to feel better? Is it because you want others to think you look better? Is it, what is that motive, and is that motive kind? Because sometimes our motives are so unkind, not only towards ourselves, but towards other people. And it's crazy.
I think it's a place of discovery too,
Yeah.
sitting here listening to it of, okay, I realized my motive was I want to look good because my worth is in my looks or something like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then why is that? Like, you keep digging deeper. Like, what is the root? I'm very much like you.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, let's just find the root. I don't want to have to deal with this like 25 different times, because is it shame? Is it, there's deeper,
Absolutely.
I don't know, you probably have a better word to put to it, because it's not just emotions, but there's deeper traumas, wounds, just the way that we were brought up, that then influences maybe the more surface level motives of, well, I want to be productive, or I want to make money. Well, why do you want to make money? Well, because I want nice things. Well, why do you want nice things? Like, it's just, it's a place of discovery, really.
That's good.
I heard this girl one time, it was Cody Sanchez. She
was
said,
Cody.
anyone who's an entrepreneur, if you're really like a gung-ho, you're an entrepreneur, that's usually a trauma response of some type from when you were a kid.
Oh,
And I was
geez.
like,
I believe
whoa,
it. I
wow,
believe it.
And
Well, let's talk about all the businesses I've been a part of. You should see my resume.
yeah.
I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I like how you were explaining even the Enneagram. It's how you self-protect and how
That's
you
what
show
it
up
is.
in life. And what do you do when like you're not okay with yourself, and how do you achieving at that level is usually some way of trying to produce,
that's my story.
produce worthiness,
Yeah.
produce, I'm okay, I'm worthy, I'm loved.
Because of
I'm
this, and
valued,
this.
I'm connected because of
Yeah.
this. And when you're a kid, all you want is to feel connected, valued,
Seen.
loved, worthy, seen. And so we show up in these ways, and it's really fascinating to keep asking those questions and getting to the root,
Yeah.
because it really might change your whole career path, right? It really might change what you're doing in life, because you're like, I'm doing this out of a place of hustling versus a place of worthiness and contribution to the world,
Yeah, that's the gift of the Enneagram right there, is what you were describing. It helps reveal what our motivations are. And then it shows us our blind spots, ways that we've learned to self-protect. And for me, as someone who has worked with Dr. Brene Brown's work, like I was introduced to her work in 2012. Like I was first introduced to her work, which was life-changing, and then the Enneagram. And my journey is they work very well together. They complement each other, because they really show us what you were saying, Shelby, earlier, that place of, okay, this is a discovery.
Yeah.
It really is a place of waking up, like, who am I really?
Yeah.
And what are my motivations? Well, that is a journey of self-discovery.
Yeah.
So I want to close a loop on the self-compassion, because we were talking about that as we continue to move forward here. But in Dr. Brene Brown's research, so there's 3 elements to self-compassion. We touched on the first one, self-kindness, and then the second one is common humanity. So that's like, you're human. You're not the only one.
Yeah.
Okay, because what happens oftentimes when we're in a hard place, I'm sure you can relate to this, where I am the only one. What is wrong with me? There was I literally thought I was flawed. Right? That's shame. I'm not enough.
Yeah.
I'm not smart enough. I'm not thin enough. I'm not whatever. Just fill in the blank. What is your not enough? And we live in a culture right? A consumer culture.
Feeds that.
Yes, that
thought.
feeds it.
Yeah, yeah.
So in my perspective, like we are swimming in a culture of shame. I was swimming in shame growing up. I just didn't have the word for it.
Yeah.
Okay. And that was my aha moment. That's what this is. Self-compassion, empathy are antidotes to shame. That's how important this is. Okay. So the third element of self-compassion is mindfulness. And so what does that mean? Really being present to what's arising, paying attention to your life. All of this, right? It goes back to what you were saying earlier, self-discovery, awareness. It's all connected. Well, how am I going to wake up if I'm not present?
Yeah. Right.
I mean, I live most of my life on autopilot. I'm going 100 miles an hour. I was going 100 miles an
100%.
hour. Hey, can anyone relate to driving down the road and you miss your exit? Or you literally drove somewhere and don't even remember the drive?
Yeah.
All the time.
I've done that.
Okay, that's called autopilot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some of it's really good because our brain would be on overload all the time. Like if you had
Right.
to, every time you got in a car, if you had to relearn how to drive, that'd be a problem.
There's strengths to it, but there's
strengths,
also
yes, but that
great
place
weakness.
of learning to
Yeah.
get present.
Yeah.
Presence is key, right? To all of it. To waking up, to goals. Like how do I even know what goals I actually really want if I don't even know who I am?
Yeah.
If I'm never
Let's talk
present.
about getting present.
Yeah.
Are there practical steps to that?
Yeah.
Because I know I always live in the future.
Oh, girl,
Never in
you
the
are not
past.
alone.
I'm always in the future. I've always got another idea, another thing to do, another whatever. Like the moment I sit down to rest, I'm like, oh, it's been 5 minutes. I got to get up. I got to do. So like, and I know that I'm missing out moments with family, with my daughter, with friends. Like I know that I'm missing out. So what are some practical steps for other people that are not present? And that might even mean past. A lot of
Heck
people live in
yeah.
the past. So
Oh,
what does
well,
that
okay,
look
here's
like?
the thing. Let's talk about the brain.
Yeah.
Okay. The brain that is not present is going to be in the future or the past.
Yeah.
All right. And so the only way you will actually not be in the future and the past is to
Yeah.
be here. And the only way to really be here, here's the gift. Our breath is always in the present moment, and so is our body. So anytime you can pause and connect with your body and your breath, it will bring you right here, right now.
Yeah.
Okay? You got to get embodied. So little things like put your feet on the ground. Just feel the ground beneath your feet. You do that right here, right now. You are here.
Yeah.
Feel the clothes against your skin. Breathe. Notice. When you're driving down the road, notice if you're gripping the steering wheel tightly.
Yeah.
Soften.
Yeah.
What about your shoulders? Are they up where your ears are? Probably. Why? Because you're constricted. Why? Because you're not present. Presence comes with spaciousness. Your shoulders relax. You have oxygen that you're feeding your brain, which is a really good thing when you breathe. And that's the other thing. We literally hold our breath
Yeah.
when we're stressed.
Yeah.
And 'tis the season, folks, right? In America.
Yeah.
Like this is where we live.
Yeah.
So I firmly believe we have to cultivate present practices, going back to the universal growth process. You want to grow in presence, you have to, see it. You know it. You just said it, Shelby. I'm not present half the time. I
Yeah.
know it. I'm doing this,
Yeah,
this, this, this,
100%.
and this. Okay.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to notice that. I'm going to allow, oh, I don't like that. I don't like that I'm not with my daughter. I'm not really here when she's here with me. But I'm going to breathe and I'm going to give myself permission to feel what I'm feeling. I'm going to appreciate this is part of the human experience. This is it right here, folks. You know, this is what it means to be human. I'm not alone.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to move into my action step, permission to be present, whatever it is. I'm going to put my feet on the ground. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to look around. I'm going to pause. I'm always talking to my clients about the power of the pause. There's this incredible quote by Viktor Frankl. He survived the Holocaust, right? Psychiatrist says this: between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space is the power to choose your response. And in your response lies your growth and your freedom. That's the power of the pause. But here's the thing. That pause, in order for you to catch that, where you respond and not react, where you respond in presence,
Yeah.
okay? When you're actually present, you will respond.
Right.
When you react, you are not present, okay? So we practice presence so that when something happens in our life that's hard, we are now practiced in pausing.
Yeah.
We pause, we breathe, right? But you have 0.25 seconds to catch it
Wow.
when you get triggered. So we develop a practice and we adhere to the practice. It's just like the permission slips, right?
Yeah.
But now I'm going to really have a presence practice. For me, I'm a huge believer in stillness, and I carve out pretty much the first thing every morning because I'm the type of person, once I hit go,
You're going.
I am gone.
Yeah.
But I'm working on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like things like do not have my phone on my nightstand.
Yeah.
It is now in the other room when I go to bed.
I love that.
I will, if I read an email or a text message before I ground myself in the morning, it will disrupt my day.
It's all reactionary.
It's
then.
very reactionary. And I know that place well. That is easy for me.
Yeah.
I have no problem, okay, being busy. I have no problem going. What I have a problem with is being. I'm a human being, not a human doing. I got the doing down.
Yeah.
That's why I crashed. So my whole journey is like learning how to pause and helping other people do the same. Because imagine if our whole world could pause. I feel like 2020, when all that happened, we all took a big exhale.
No,
And the
it
world
did.
started getting better. The
did.
smog lifted. The animal,
Literally.
literally.
Yeah.
And then what happened? We all just went back to our madness.
Yeah.
So I don't want to go back. And I have moments when I do.
Yeah.
And then I'm kind to myself. Why? Because I'm human. And then I come back.
Yeah.
So 20 minutes every day for me. But I didn't start there.
Yeah.
Start at 3 minutes. I don't care. Just start.
Yeah. Do something.
Make it
Yeah.
little. Do not set yourself up for failure, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
3 minutes. It's more about consistency than length. All right. We got to get consistent.
The practice.
It's a practice. Set yourself up for success. Don't jump off and I'm going to sit here for 20 minutes every day. Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah.
At least for me, that would not work.
It's
I
my
started at 3
problem.
minutes. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like 3 minutes of stillness. There's the Calm app is a great resource. Headspace, Insight Timer, something that can help you. And Calm actually has it will walk you through 10 minutes. Whatever works for you. All right. Cultivate a practice of calm in your life, of stillness.
I love that.
All right. And you adhere to it over and over again. And you're going to screw it up. Something's going to happen. There's going to be a disruption in your life. The key is what happens as the disruption settles, you just get right back on it.
Yeah.
Okay. That's part of it.
Yeah.
You go on vacation. All right. It's like, you don't have to throw it all out with the bathwater kind of thing.
Well, it's the humanness.
Yes.
Yeah. Exactly.
This is part of the
coming into
human
play.
experience. Again, what matters, I mean, I could have like a big sign about this with my clients. What matters is know you're going to fall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to, and that's okay. But build resilience to getting back up. And that's like, oh, I'm human. I'm going to be compassionate towards myself. This is part of the process. I'm going to get back on. I'm going to reflect. I'm going to look at how can I do this differently so I can make it more sustainable.
Yeah.
So
I love that. I feel like we need to have you back every single week and do another episode on how to get well.
We just need to hire you personally to have you. Speaking of,
Yes.
if people want to get in touch with you, what is a good way, a website or?
yeah, SonjaBomhoff.com.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
We'll have it all spelled out. In
Yeah,
the
good. I was
notes.
going to say, do you want me to spell it?
I mean, you can
People
if you
do
want,
that.
but
No.
we'll put it in there for everybody. But
Yeah.
It's been such a joy. I hate to land the plane.
I do
really
too.
do.
I do
I could
too.
talk about this.
Well, first off,
stuff
we need
for
to know what
hours.
Betty struggles with.
Yeah,
We're
what
going
do
to talk
you-
about
can you tell
that.
us
Oh
at
my
least
gosh,
one
we don't
thing?
have another hour. We would need another hour.
Are you good at
People-pleasing?
stillness?
No, stillness is very difficult for me.
Are you good at starting your day?
No, I try, but I'm really bad at it because
But how can you be kind to yourself? How else can you say that?
see, I will. There it goes. Yeah, no, I do. I have come a long way, and I will continue to come a long way with my stillness journey. But yeah, it's very.
And why do you
hard
want to do that? Why do you want to cultivate stillness in your life?
Because I do want to be present. I do want to. All we're given is today.
Yeah.
We were talking earlier. We have one body. We have one body to feed and how you
Take
handle
care
your
of.
body. Like you were talking about the shoulders coming up. All of that later on in your life, like it affects you.
Yeah, it
you know.
does.
And I want to cultivate a life of wholeness and stillness and presence where I am living in the moment and I'm not 20 feet before or 20 feet back, you know?
Yeah.
So it is important and it's powerful. And so many people do live on an autopilot. I mean, I feel
It's easy to
specifically
do.
in America,
Yeah.
specifically in
Yeah.
America. So
You're not alone, believe
yeah.
me.
Well, now that we know we all have problems,
or how about we're just human?
we're
And
all
being human becomes a
working
problem.
on things so that we can thrive. Does that work?
That's perfect.
That's going to be the theme for 2025. I'm human, but I'm learning how to thrive.
That's right.
right.
In my humanity.
Yeah.
My humanity.
Yeah, let's
And I'm
do
being
it.
kind to myself along the way. And I'm becoming more and more grounded in who I am. And I'm living awake.
Yeah.
And when I do that, I can help others do the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I
beautiful.
love that. Beautiful. Let's end there. That's the perfect ending.
Yes. Thank you, Sonia. Thank
Thanks,
you so
guys.
much.
I
We
really
so
enjoyed being with
appreciate
you.
Awesome.
We're going to
Well,
thrive
bye.
in 2025,
Let's
guys.
do it.
Yes, let's
Let's
do
do
it.
it.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye.